Let me be very clear. I'm not going to vote for a wall under any circumstances. And if we want to talk about that, let's do that.
Of course!
One of the interesting facts about Kamala Harris is she's basically unknown. Folks don't actually know who she is, what she stands for, and what she's done in the past. The only ones who really know this are the Republicans, the people on the right, and of course the leftists trying to hide it all up. But the longer this campaign continues, the more all of her previous statements, all of her previous acts are going to be uncovered and on display for the American people. Now at that point, even the mainstream media's polls won't be able to hide the truth about Kamala Harris any longer, and then we'll start to see a shift towards reality the closer we get to the election. And speaking about the election, all of the best attack ads from Donald Trump are basically doing exactly what I'm talking about. They're showing Kamala Harris in her own words for what she was saying then, comparing them to what she's saying now. And there's one attack ad recently that is just simply blowing up the internet. Let's check this out.
Everyday prices are too high. Food, rent, gas, back to school clothes. That is called Bidenomics. A loaf of bread cost 50% more today. Ground beef is up almost 50%. There's not much left at the end of the month. Bidenomics is working. The price of housing has gone up. It feels so hard to just be able to get ahead. And we are very proud of Bidenomics.
So of course, the financial policies of Biden-Harris have been awful for the country. And for a long time, everyone's saying, oh, things are great. It's really rosy out there. But of course, in reality, it is nothing but. And folks out there who actually are living this reality, when you hear Democrats at the DNC, for instance, out there saying, oh, everything is so wonderful, we got to get this lady in for another 4 years, it's not quite going to ring true. So having an ad like this to really bring that out is simply wonderful, especially at this point in time where people still think that Donald Trump beats Kamala Harris on the economy and many of the important issues of the day. As we can see over here from ABC, Harris may lead Trump overall, but not on handling of the economy, according to a recent poll. So despite all of their polls saying that, yes, Kamala Harris is trouncing Donald Trump in several different ways all over the place, even they can't get away from the simple fact that with these skewed results, Donald Trump still comes out on top on all of the important issues of the day. And way down here, we can see, yes, economy and inflation, Trump is +9. On crime and safety, Trump is +3. On immigration, Trump is +10. So those are all of the big topics of the day. And even though the respondents in these polls are saying, hey, who do we trust more on the most important issues? It's Donald Trump. Somehow, Kamala Harris is still inking out that win. I don't buy it. And we'll get to some polling about that in a little bit. But how in the world can Kamala Harris possibly hope to compete against Donald Trump when he is beating her in all the main issues? Well, it's easy. The government, in conjunction with the media, in conjunction with big tech, are all going to come together and try to influence the election like they have in the past. We had this bombshell report come out recently about Mark Zuckerberg bowing down to the Biden administration. Check this out.
In a letter sent to the House Judiciary Committee, Chairman Jim Jordan, the Meta CEO explained, quote, in 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it.
And if the government was going after Facebook, you can bet that they were going after successfully the news organizations, the other big multimedia platforms, right? Operation Mockingbird is a thing after all. So this is how they're going to combat Donald Trump's positive message, positive perception on all of the big issues. They're going to basically just force places to comply with their narrative. That, of course, has been the MO of the left and big government for decades, right? If you don't have the result you want, we're going to go ahead and kind of twist the minds of the public in the direction we desire. However, it's not going to work because the economy is so bad, they simply can't hide it. Check out this segment from CNBC.
It's like watching A Clockwork Orange. I'm like this, Vivek, watching what's coming out, whether it's raising the rate on corporate taxes or going up to, 45%, close to, on capital gains for certain individuals. It's a lot of populism, but most people that defend it say, she doesn't really mean it. It'll never happen.
Yeah, so that's the irony here, Joe. And first of all, I agree with my friends at the Washington Post who observed that if you don't want your opponent to tag you as a communist, then maybe your first policy should not be a bunch of price controls in the United States. We've seen price controls fail in every other major country that's tried it. Argentina, Venezuela, under Hugo Chavez, under Nicolas Maduro. The irony in Venezuela is that you actually saw undernourishment increase tenfold over the same period where they enacted price controls in the food industry, in the grocery industry. Yet that's exactly what they've proposed here. And I do think that the fact that this was her signature economic unveiling says a lot about where her vision actually is. To borrow Tim Walz's expression, Joe, if I may, it is just plain weird for them to focus even on the grocery sector if they were going to implement price controls, because this is a sector in which you look at the profit margins of Kroger or Albertsons. You're looking at 2%, 1% profit margins. I saw that interview that Elizabeth Warren did with you, and I respectfully disagree with her. But she even brought up examples like Kraft Heinz or Cal-Maine. The reality is their profit margins are lower today than they were in 2015 to 2016. So, yes, it is a just plain weird fixation.
Yes, the Harris administration wanting to bring bread lines to a neighborhood near you, right? Policies that do not work. They've already been tested and tried. And yet, of course, to someone as stupid as Kamala Harris, who still thinks that communism possibly could work because it hasn't been done correctly, is going to want to bring them here to the United States yet again, right? Remember what happened to Jimmy Carter all the way back in the 70s when we had price controls on gas, right? It was not good. The lines were down the street, but hey, they were controlled, right? So everything was fine. So good job, Kamala Harris. And when you mix these communist ideas along with cracking down on free speech and political persecution, you're basically going to end up with this big coalition being formed of people who used to be on the left, all these reasonable Democrats who are saying, hey, this is not the party we grew up with. This is not the party we want. As you're going to see here on this segment with Brett Weinstein.
Absolutely. Let me just be perfectly clear about this. I think the modern Democratic Party is an existential threat to the Republic. And although I am a Democrat, I've been a Democrat my whole life, the party that I see in front of me today is literally the inverse of the party I signed up for. This is now the party of war. This is the party of racism. This is the party of censorship. I don't recognize this party. There is no conceivable scenario in which I would vote for Kamala Harris. I just simply will not do it. Am I open to voting for Trump? I am. I'm especially open to it if he is partnered with Bobby Kennedy, because what that tells me is that my values, which are a much closer match for Bobby's, are represented in that administration. And that's really what I want. I want a coalition to redefine American politics because, frankly, we have a long-standing problem with corruption, which has now turned into something else with the modern Democratic Party. But we need to rethink the way we govern ourselves so that corruption is not the dominant force, and a coalition is the way we're going to do that.
Before we continue, I do want to remind you that Kamala Harris is basically endorsing communism as her economic policy. So what can you do to protect your investments? It's easy. You can go to Genesis Gold Group and turn your 401k or IRA into a gold-backed security. And to do this, simply call 1-800-200-4653 or visit angryteachergold.com. And remember, Genesis Gold Group is a faith-based, America First organization, so you can be confident in investing with them. Let's get back to the video. So this is something I've been saying for a long time. The Republican Party needs to have a big tent. I want all kinds of people in it. Now, who do I want to be in control? Who do I want to actually have the keys? The most conservative possible. But I think we have more people that agree with us on the major issues, on the big issues, than the Democrats have, right? If you still want free speech, you want personal freedom, you want to have that Second Amendment, where's the place you're going to go? It is no longer the Democrats. It is the Republicans, right? The right side, the people who are being painted as extremists, right? We're the only ones out there standing for freedom and liberty and loving America. It sure as crap is not on the left. It is not in the Democrat Party. And of course, even more good news is that polling seems to be going in Donald Trump's direction. Check this out.
This is all of the nightly Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump individual night matchup results. And again, they're smaller than a normal poll, and so the margin of error is larger, but they show a very clear trend. And this trend, again, if you've been looking at the other pollsters, looks nothing like what those people in the mainstream media are putting out. Now, I will say Kamala Harris had an initial bounce, and then Trump did pretty well, and then it tightened some. And then really, up until this most recent data point, Trump and Kamala Harris were tied, and those 3 days were during the DNC. Again, the last data point we had was tied, but it had Trump up 0.6 if you were using unrounded numbers. But here we have Donald Trump back up to a 1-point lead as of data Sunday night, which would be our first night of data after the RFK endorsement.
So this daily tracking poll is showing that, yes, the bounce from the DNC is over. The bounce from switching candidates is over. Donald Trump is now pulling away, and the endorsements from RFK and Tulsi Gabbard are only going to help that as more and more people flock to the party of freedom and equality. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, and stay safe out there, people, because they're coming after you.